Hello, welcome to the Flicks Forum podcast with Jesse, Heater and MJ. In this week's episode, we're looking at Netflix's 28th film, the 2017 drama Burning Sands. It's directed by Gerard McMurray, and it stars Trevor Jackson, Alfre Woodard, Steve Harris, Tasin Cole, DeRon Horton, Christian Robinson, Trevante Rhodes, Q Saun and Serayah.
Good work on those names.
I slowed down quite a lot. I took my time. I didn't race through it. I was like, I'm going to slow down.
I think that's the way to go.
It was impressive, mate.
Some rough ones in there. Well done.
And as usual, I've just taken the top build cast. So it's not everyone that was in this film, I promise.
Not far off.
Yeah.
So we always kick off this show by going around the table and doing a quick summary of, it doesn't have to be 30 seconds, but a summary of the film. And Heater, I want you to kick us off today.
All right, thanks, mate. So, an intense story of a young man pledging a college frat and the underground hazing and torture he and the other pledges must endure during Hell Week.
Nice. I've gone with a group of young men desperately want to join a fraternity. They must juggle classes, relationships and hazing, but how far will they go to reach that goal?
Question. The questions are back. I love it.
The questions never really went away.
I reckon he did two in a row, where he didn't ask a question.
The next six have been back
I work
on.
every week to work out how can I put a question into this.
For me, it's a snapshot into the world of illegal hazing for modern high school fraternities. Burning Sands works hard to condemn this type of behaviour and the brutal nature behind it, but in the process still manages to glamorise components of it.
Cool. Love it. Good. So we always have a look at what we've learnt about this film when we've looked into it. So any sort of history or facts that we could find. Heater, this is your favourite section. Please fill us in.
It's another one from the Sundance Film Festival in 2017, just like our previous film where it premiered.
How did it do anything at Sundance? I didn't see that.
It got nominated for the Grand Jury Prize, which I don't feel at home in this word anymore.
Yeah, the one episode from last week.
Yeah, so this
How
got
many
nominated for
films get nominated for the Grand Jury Prize?
I had a look. So there's different categories. So this is nominated in the drama. I think there was about 10 films nominated.
And that's just drama.
Which is just for the drama Grand Jury Prize.
So so many of our films I feel like are nominated for the Grand Jury Prize. I think it's obviously a pretty open nomination.
Yeah.
I had a sneaky look forward to next week too, and I think there's a chance that our next week's was a Sundance film from the same year as
That
well.
is cheating, Jesse. I don't even know what the next film is called. I kid you not.
It's ready to go at the end of the episode because I don't know off the top of my head either. But I'm pretty sure that was at Sundance too. And in the credits at the end of this as well, it's another one that was sort of funded and supported by the Sundance feature film program.
Okay,
well.
that was like
yeah.
I've already forgotten the title.
One of the ones we've looked at that's been at Sundance.
Yeah,
this world anymore.
But again, like these films we're going in chronological order, so they're all kind of makes sense that Sundance 20.
Well, like at the end of we're probably at a month or so ago, we're doing a lot of films that were filmed at the 2016 Toronto Film Festival, which was kind of all around that same time. Now we're more kind of moving into the movies that were at Sundance in early 2017.
Yeah, Netflix hit a festival circuit and go, bang, 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 we'll take that.
Absolutely, I do. Yeah.
It was shot in 18 days, so pretty short.
Impressive.
Yeah, only a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
There's a bit of controversy around it as well because there's a guy who's suing Netflix. I'm not sure the outcome, but he's suing them saying that Netflix and the entertainment group for copyright infringement, saying that I wrote this story and then you made a film about it, which I thought was quite interesting.
Really?
Yeah, so he said he spent 2 decades writing a 2-volume book called Burning Sands. His name's Al Quiles Jr., and he's suing Netflix over it. So
I mean,
there we go.
The notion of this film isn't particularly unique, right?
No.
So
there's a couple of films that came out around the same time that are pretty much like almost the same.
And it was all around what was happening at the time in the world, obviously, because there were people that were dying from hazing.
Deaths from the hazing, so...
And,
that's kind of a hard thing, isn't it? It's like writing a basketball movie and then someone else making a basketball movie and go, no, our team won in the last game of basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
See how that goes. I assume that hasn't been resolved.
Not that I could find anyway.
Yeah, right.
The director, obviously, he drew this from his own experiences of being hazed.
Well, that's what I mean. So it's not
exactly
a unique story.
Any other things that we've found?
Well, it's his first feature film as director.
Yeah.
Which, again, a pretty common trend that we're getting with our films.
I didn't realise, but he was a producer on Fruitvale Station.
He was, yeah.
So
which is a big credit for
him.
And
I think he used a lot of that producing because he did do a fair bit of associate producing and even exec producing prior to this. So going into his first directorial feature debut, he could definitely draw from a lot of that experience, especially in regards to sort of timelines and casting processes and all that kind of stuff. So he was less green than, I guess, your normal first-time director.
Done a couple of shorts before as well.
Yeah, a couple of shorts.
And he's gone on to do a couple of good things as well. The first Purge.
New Purge,
The new Purge. And he's done an episode of the new Twilight Zone, produced by Jordan Hill.
One.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he's going, it seems like he's going places.
Same with the final Hell Night scene. They shot it in a barn that he reckons was from 1800.
Oh, wow.
So they had no electricity. They had to bring in generators, but because there were thunderstorms that night, purely by scheduling chance, they couldn't use the generators in the building because it would start a fire with all the thunderstorms.
Wow.
So instead of having 12 hours to shoot that scene, they only shot it in 4.5 hours. They had actors who were leaving to catch flights because they had other jobs. Trevante Rhodes was going off to film some moonlight scenes. So they basically just had to leave those characters and just shoot without them. And it was a pretty compelling scene.
Yeah. They did a great job with it then for
Just
how difficult it seems like going to be.
You say they did it in 18 days, but it's not without its difficulties.
Yeah.
What you can do under pressure.
Yeah, exactly right. But a bigger film wouldn't have those constraints, you wouldn't have thought.
No. The consensus is pretty positive.
Yeah, it was.
It was positive.
You'd take it.
88% on Rotten Tomatoes. Audience was 62% though. And it's only on 305 ratings. So that's 4,000 less ratings than the film last week.
Yeah, right.
So a lot less people have seen this.
It's got pretty, in terms of the audience rating, pretty similar on IMDb and Letterboxd. On IMDb was a 6.1 and Letterboxd was a 3 out of 5. So kind of going around that 60 kind of percent mark.
But you're looking at just over 2,000 on IMDb and 1,000 on Letterboxd, which is tiny.
Again, not too many people have seen it, especially compared to last week's film.
Yeah. So we mentioned before it debuted at Sundance, and then Netflix released it worldwide in March of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
It was also nominated for 3 awards at the Black Reel Awards as well, which is like a African American sort of film thing as well. So that's pretty cool. Oh, hello, we are live. we don't hardcore edit this, so you will hear that. Don't have enough time to edit that out. So filmed in Virginia. And a lot of on-site locations there as well. I had one product placement. I saw it quite a few times.
What was it?
Can either of you work it out?
All right.
The food that they brought them.
Eating or drinking.
They brought the Macca's?
No, that was I think that burger joint was made up.
Yeah, I thought that was made up.
Definitely made up.
All right.
Very subtle throughout. So there were lots of the camera work throughout. This was pretty good, and it followed a lot of the guys. And there's one guy had a backpack on the whole time. This massive. No, because it was specifically done because he had the Under Armour logo on it.
Okay.
And then, like when they're out in the dark and they're, they've got that football out in the forest to try and say, oh, we're doing footy training. That had this huge Under Armour logo on it as well. So
Okay, so Under Armour got behind it.
So Under Armour definitely got behind this.
Endorsed by Steph Curry.
Yeah. Any other things we want to talk about the film before we get into the characters?
You, Jesse, messaged us after you watched
I did.
See, we obviously watch these films separately, and we don't talk about the films. We don't even know if each other liked it until we pretty much press record.
Correct.
And Jesse said, I really want to talk about this film ASAP. You know, I've got a lot of things bubbling. And I want to know. I don't want to go through these categories before I know.
About 5 or 6 days ago now, I reckon, and the messages came through.
Yeah.
Talk about it ASAP.
So when we do these films, some of the films, as you probably can gather from our discussions, they're hard to get through, some of them. Some of them are very hard to get through. This is one of those films where I got through it in one sitting and like didn't want to stop it, didn't want to break for anything because I was in, I think, on what was happening on the screen, but I don't know whether what I was seeing you guys are going to agree with.
Cool. Okay,
so that's
what you want to talk about.
Okay. So I really want to know, whether you guys were having the feelings that I was feeling as I was watching this. Because this movie I was watching and I was like, okay, I think that this, I couldn't stop watching.
Yeah, okay. Well, before we go any further, let's do a little spoiler alert because I don't think we've done anything yet. We haven't spoiled anything yet.
Not yet. The barn scene we've already spoiled.
Which is how it was shot.
True.
But yeah, we will be talking about spoilers in this podcast. So if you do want to see this film before listening, please turn off now and
go watch it right now.
Come back though. Jesse, it's interesting you say that because I felt very detached watching this film.
And that's why I think I was like straight away, I was like, I think that there's going to be a little bit of differing opinions on this film.
Good. I'm excited about that. What about you, Heater?
I'm more in your camp, MJ.
Yeah.
Good. So
But I definitely am very surprised by Jesse's take on that, though.
yeah,
Wouldn't
but
have picked
I sitting there watching it, I was like, I think just based on knowing each other's tastes and how we go, I sort of had a feeling that this is going to be like a bit like a Mercy episode.
Okay.
If you haven't listened to Mercy, that was my take. Was I was like, I feel like that maybe I'm more attached to this than I thought both of you probably would be, and I don't know why. Maybe by the end of this episode,
Attached to what?
Like characters,
the characters. Not the themes, not the.
Well, we'll get into the themes and the violence.
Because we should preface, being in Australia, like the idea of the Greek system and fraternities is somewhat foreign, whilst there's things that are similar. But what we know about it, we know from pop culture.
Yeah, from watching movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, let's get into the characters.
I reckon more often it's comedy movies as well.
Yeah.
True.
It's not many kind of intense real dramas like this movie, which show kind of like the horrors of it. It's more kind of played for comedic fashion in a lot of those movies.
This is quite different to American Pie Presents Beta House,
which was so good.
All right, MJ, what are your characters? Give me some characters.
So let's talk about Zurich being the main character of the film, basically the person that you follow throughout the whole film. And one of my issues with him, which is going to be an issue that I have with all the pledges, is I couldn't quite understand why he wanted to be in this frat so badly. Because one of the reasons that they got into the frat was because it's obviously a great way to meet girls or probably give you social status with girls, which wasn't an issue for him. He had a girlfriend, and even if he didn't, it seemed like he had no issue in that area. Mm-hmm. His dad... He made, like, the very first opening voiceover. Yep. He mentions how his dad tried out and didn't get in. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like there was a family pressure for him to do it, and almost like failure was accepted within his family. And everything that they went through and the limits and extremities of the way they were pushed, I'm like, so many times I was like, why are you doing this? What are you getting out of this fraternity to make you go through all of this? And probably that's what they want you to think sometimes, but it made me look at these characters and be like, yeah, but you've got a choice, and I don't quite see it.
Okay, Heater?
No, I really agree with kind of MJ there. I guess the reason I think they want to do that is because of kind of the brotherhood you do have once you get in there, and I think that the director is kind of also kind of show that brotherhood in a way that why there is kind of some bad eggs that do all that hazing and torture once you're in and stuff, which I think is showed in a later scene, that brotherhood and that bond is there for life. But having said that, I can't. I'm sitting there watching it half the time and going, how have you not punched this guy in the face already for the things that they're making you do? I just don't. I really can't see how anything could be worth going through.
Yeah, what's that payoff?
Okay. I thought I found him really relatable. I saw him as probably the part about that made me feel the most about that was he just wanted to fit in. It didn't matter what he had to do. He wanted to fit in, and he
only to the fraternity though. He didn't try and fit in class, or he didn't even try and fit in when he was hanging out with his girlfriend and friends. He was all he was
sleeping
committed.
In class basically.
He was committed as hell. I'll give him that.
Yeah,
like, this was
because this was his. To me, this felt like this was his opportunity to stand up and say, "Hey, I'm going to follow through with something. My dad hasn't done it. I'm going to do it. I can do it with these people around me." He even though he may not have, like, his girlfriend wanted more time with him and stuff, he still did the right thing by her most of the time.
I agree with that. Yeah,
did the right, and then he tries to make a change as well. Like towards the end, he definitely tries to make a change, and no one else there had the guts to go and speak to the dean and be like, "Hey, this hazing thing is ridiculous."
No, sorry, and I should mention, I thought Zurich was a good character.
I thought he was a good character.
The big flaw in him was, what are you doing there in the first place?
Yeah.
Because I agree. I think he was a good boyfriend. I think, despite, and you know what, you can paint that in so many ways. Whether it's trying out for a fraternity, or whether it's working too longer hours, or whether it's trying to join a new sporting team, whatever it is. making time for your partner is a very relatable thing, and he did a really good job at it. And you know, the effort that he made for her birthday and stuff. And you know, he was like the leader of the pledges, and he was the one that was asking why. And so I do agree that he was a good, relatable character.
And I'm often critical of voiceovers, but I liked the voiceovers throughout, which I thought sort of re-grounded why he was doing it, because you know, this brotherhood, and you've got to go through pain to be successful, and you've got to do this to do that sort of thing. And he stood up to the dean, and even though it backfired, he was still the one at the end of the hospital that was like, nah, stuff this. I'm sitting there and standing there. So to me, I was just, I don't know, I thought, okay, he's ready to face the consequences. He's not running. To me, he was the one sort of character in that whole thing that sort of, I don't know, I just thought that, he was quite relatable.
Yeah. But by the end, I mean, I suppose one of the main themes of this film is around sticking by what you think is right. As opposed to going with the crowd and joining a fraternity, for example, where it's like that group thinking. And he, you know, kind of comes full circle on that. And by the end, when he is literally, why on earth would you stay? Because if you stay, you're not joining this fraternity. He had that presence of mind. And I think that's one of the key messages, and probably one of the best messages that you get out of this film. I think there's ways that it's done a little bit sloppy, but it all comes through Zurich. I agree with that.
I thought he was a great character. Like his kind of his strength and his focus and his determination was great. I guess what you were saying before about sticking up for others, and his whole kind of his character and his values were really good. I just didn't agree with what he put them towards and his decision of what he did. But his inner character was still really good. And Trevor Jackson, I thought, did an amazing performance with him.
Yeah, I thought he was really good. And I didn't like any of the violent scenes or the continual, you know, beatings that they were copping, but I thought that without that constant in your face that the whole time, that the scenes towards the end where he goes to the dean, like, you feel that heartbreak of, you know, he actually wants to do something right, and even the adults there are like, nah, do what you're supposed to be doing if you want to be a part of this crew.
That's a good segue.
There's the code of silence there, and that he wants him to uphold, and
that's a good segue to Professor Hughes,
Yep.
who's his, I guess, his teacher in the only class that you actually see him in.
Yeah.
And she kind of starts off by saying, like, you know, I'm here to talk whenever you want to talk. And you're kind of sitting there going, you know, why is she doing this? But she's obviously foreboding the whole, I guess, in the end, tragedy. That she understands that this is what happens in fraternity hazing. Yeah. This is what's been happening for a very, very long time. And you see that really quick chance meet that they have with Dean Richardson when they both bump into Zurich and they want to talk to him. There's a bit of frostiness between her and the Dean.
Yeah, because she knows kind of what's going on there, and And
like before the last scene with the Dean, you have no reason to think that this guy's not just a hell of a guy. Like you think he's great, you think he's going to be good support for Zurich and the guys, and that's when he turns and you go, no, fraternity, whilst we've tried to be painting as a bad picture the whole time, this guy kind of feels like the head of the snake. It's a bad picture, like whether you're a college student or you're an adult or not.
I thought the dean throughout, if he actually, like, I didn't like him at all, because I thought if he cared about Z, he would have known that Z couldn't be seen talking to him, and he would have known that. And when there's one time where they're in the kitchen and there's like the four of them cleaning or whatever, he only talks to Z. He's the only person he talks to. So I was like, this guy, not great anyway. But Professor Hughes, I thought, it was that role model or mentor that, wanted him to think outside the square when all the other adults in the film just wanted to follow the past processes. They were just like, you've got to pledge, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Whereas she was that one that I thought, she played that good mentor.
Yeah, she was a great character. Yeah, really good.
Any other characters?
Not that I liked, no, to be honest. I mean, you couldn't bring yourself to like any of the big brothers kind of that did all the hazing and stuff. They're all dicks. Yeah. I don't know how you could feel anything towards any of them.
With Frank, so the other pledge who was at loggerheads with Z most of the time, and then he was another one where firstly I was like, why are you joining this fraternity? I guess because he to your point about the brotherhood being the most appealing thing, he did not seem into that at all.
Yeah, true.
And it really bothered me, his turnaround with Zurich. They hated each other, and then they're in the car, and they sort of had a laugh together. And then, like, he would have, like, taken a bullet for him by the end of it. That was...
But we missed the scene there.
Yeah, I think Frank is a character, so for the first maybe half an hour, I didn't even know that he was meant to be... an issue for anybody. He was just one of the guys, and then he sort of stood out as an issue, and then he had this really quick turnaround, and I thought the whole character itself just felt a bit wishy-washy to me. Yeah. And then they killed him.
Yeah, I thought the car scene was probably it was him recognizing that, hey, this guy's completely beat up, but he's still continuing, so that's why I'll respect him.
Yeah. I get that respect factor.
Yeah.
And I get the fact that you don't have to just hate him anymore.
Yeah.
But he turned real hard, real quick.
Yeah, real quick. What about the cast? Any performances that didn't stand out? Like you said before, the guy played Zeke, Trevor Jackson.
Trevor Jackson was great.
Yeah,
I thought
he was really good.
He did a really good job.
Still a teenager when they were shooting that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I thought the cast was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that anyone was bad.
No,
at all.
It's hard, yeah. I mean, nothing stood out for me.
I didn't think a lot was memorable, though, probably besides Trevor Jackson. I wouldn't have said there was a lot of guys that really stood out, I guess, and put in a memorable performance for me. But I wouldn't say that none were bad, though.
And that's probably what goes with what I was trying to say before, is he was really the only character that you wanted to care about. Or
he was the real one.
He's the only one you knew about either.
Yeah.
You knew the bloke with glasses, square, was in it for the girls, basically.
Yeah.
You know, one of them was a football player, which they touched on every now and then. But other than that, you don't know anything about these guys.
Yeah, you don't find anything out. So you really are always focused on this one guy because he's the one that you're following.
But to that point, his character arc is the story arc as well. So he's literally almost like a vehicle for driving the theme as opposed to a character almost.
All right, let's talk about some scenes. What stood out?
I think you should start because you're the one that I don't think liked.
I've got one scene that I really liked, and a lot of the scenes that I didn't like are going to come back to the same thing where I was watching this film saying, I don't know why you guys are doing this. The best scene for me was when they were calling their big brothers, and there was one time it made me understand the worth and benefit of this fraternity. So all these big brothers who were really successful, had only good things to say about the fraternity. At that point, I was like, okay, so I can see the value there, and that's why they're doing it. And apparently that scene was almost cut.
Oh, wow.
Would have been a big mistake.
I was reading that he sent it to one of his mail. I think it was like Ryan Coogler or something. He's friends with the director. And he read it and was like, you got to keep that scene in. He's like, oh, really? I thought it kind of drags a little bit. And he's like, no, you got to keep it in. And as it turns out, it was, I thought, the best scene of the film.
Yeah, I thought that was really important. It sort of kept them on track on who they could be and what they can achieve.
I would have said that was the best scene of the film too. I think it was really good to show that, there is kind of like, even once you leave the college and the fraternity, you still have those bonds and you still have that assistance from this group, like wherever you go in life. I thought that was a really good, important scene.
It's the first time I got real context for why they were doing it.
Yeah, for why you want to join this, because I guess there is the outcome and the goal of what you can achieve through this, but yeah, it made it hard to...
I should have hung on that a little bit more as well, because it wasn't enough for me to be like, okay, I get it, keep doing this.
Yeah, it's great, but it's still not worth it. Yeah.
All right, so I thought a lot of the establishing shots throughout were really good. It gave a real realness to the film. Like there were these really nice, clear, aerial shots throughout of like the school, of the town, of the whole area. And I thought they were really crisp and clear. And I thought that sort of led really well to like where we were going with the characters. And I just thought that was nice. I thought the soundtrack was pretty good too. And especially the song over the credits was by Common, and I think he executive produced the soundtrack as well. I thought that was a great conclusion to the film, and we haven't spoken about the end yet, but I thought that was really good.
You know what's funny is that so often you comment on the music or the soundtrack. The one time that you didn't comment on it and we commented on it was when there was country music in it, and we're just like, what a great soundtrack.
Yeah. Didn't even think about that.
Country hater.
No, I have like So Fresh Country 2019 in my car ready to go.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Why?
Exactly. I like country music.
I like country music. I like it.
Okay.
I thought the scene that there were all those intertwining sort of cuts at the start where they went to the drive-in burger place and got those sausage biscuits and the hash browns. I thought early on that set the mood really well and how desperate they are to impress, because they're running through the staircases delivering these to all their guys, and even though every order was wrong, they still stuck it out and they knew each room they went to was going to be poor.
I didn't understand when they were doing that they were delivering it to the rest of the fraternity. I was like, why are they ordering so much?
Because there was so many. There was orders like 80 odd something, and then I was confused about sausage biscuits, and I was like, what are you guys eating?
What is that?
I've got no idea, didn't bother looking it up, but I was really confused. I'm like, okay, well, I'm sure it's some kind of meal food over there, but yeah, just the quantity there was just so
Huge.
funny. You're like, oh, okay, here we go.
I thought the phone texts and calls on the screen were done well compared to some films we've seen, like just to let you know where the characters are going and who they're communicating with. I liked that. I thought the voiceovers from Z, like I said before, were done well, and I thought they progressed the film and sort of let you know where they were at each stage.
Had a bit of a Beast of No Nation feel to it, those voiceovers. Like, you were really going into his... It was like he was writing his diary at the time. Like, it wasn't just a voiceover, it was going really deep into him.
We spoke about the scene before where the Dean's there and Professor Hughes is there, and Z's trying to dodge the Dean because he doesn't want to be seen near him. And I really liked that little bit of extra care that Professor Hughes showed. Like she said, take care of that extra assignment, meaning his ribs, because she knew how beat up he was. And I thought that just developed that relationship and what he was going to do next really well.
Took me a while to know her angle, because initially, you know, he's in class and he's kind of the bad guy, and then he's like, see me after class, and it actually is a slow reveal to actually what she's trying to do, which is quite nice.
I thought it was obvious straight away, because as soon as she drops that paper on his desk with like his grade, and it's got a nice little comment to him saying, you obviously didn't read the book, sort of thing. And I was like, that's a teacher that...
I don't really think that was a nice little comment, was it? I thought she was having a go at him.
But as you said, you were all into this film, and we weren't.
I was like, this is a teacher that cares about him. Like, just knowing, like, if you take the time to write those extra few words about, you know, I know that you can do better than this, to me, I was like, straight away, she cares about him.
I interpret that as being really mad at him because it's obvious, you know, he didn't read the book or something. It just like, I thought she was having even a more go at him, I guess, for not doing the work. But then you do get the reveal she was trying to help, so that was even better, I guess. But yeah, I thought as well it was a pretty slow reveal.
I thought the scene where the pledges are all upstairs and they're trying to get them all to go down and, you know, have sex with this one girl, I had a bit of a giggle.
That's a red flag for me right there, though.
I get that, but they're trying to show you exactly what happens.
I know, I do.
I'm not saying I agree or we agree with what's going on, but I thought that scene between the two of them talking about, you know, their lives, and she's talking about, you know, I don't go to school, but I'm still educated, and, you know, I had a bit of a laugh when they're making the moaning noises, pretending what was going on. I thought that was well done.
It wasn't a bad scene. I liked the strength of character from Toya, I think her name was.
Yeah. I liked the scene where Toya's out, not Toya. His girlfriend's like out in the corridor, and then like they break up. And I just felt that pain that he was having. And then, like, that impact when he punches the wall on the way out, I was like, I could feel exactly how he was feeling.
This is the difference between you being all in on this film and me. Because that was a shocking scene.
Yeah.
Like, that was... Well, I'll talk about it now because it was in my ad scenes. But that just felt like it was completely phoned in. That they needed to have him go through a breakup to add on to all this. What actually happened there just was rushed. It shouldn't have... I don't think... that his girlfriend was in the right to make that decision and just go, we're broken up right now, and he can't talk about it. I just felt the whole thing was just like a plot point that had to be there. I didn't feel it, whereas I should have felt it like you. So
without that scene, then the scene where they drive to like a graduation or whatever she was having from that beta house or whatever it was, then that scene would have made...
I agree. I think they just needed to put it in there, but I just don't think that they connected with it.
I thought it was pretty rushed the way they did through it. It really didn't explain it well enough.
I like the scene where they're in the pool and they're pegging the tennis balls at him. I thought the camera work there was really good to sort of create that confusion. Hated that scene.
Hated this.
Didn't you just feel the pain that they were feeling and like not wanting to be there?
And it made me so uncomfortable to watch. I just hated watching it.
So the film that's good then, because that's what they want you to feel.
Oh, I know. Yeah. But I didn't like it. I can completely agree that that's what they want you to feel. It's just, for me, that's not an enjoyable viewing experience.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
There's a scene where like he goes to his big brother Malcolm to get his ribs checked out, and he's like sort of on the couch, and there's like this focus, like he's lying on the couch, and there's the focus of his phone just sitting on the edge of the couch. And I'm sitting there on the edge of my seat going, I hope you're going to call your dad. Because they'd made this thing throughout the film about his dad keeps texting him saying, I want to hear from you, I want to hear from you. And I was like, come on, call your dad. And then when he called the girlfriend to leave a message, I was like, oh, dude.
Calls his dad at one point though, doesn't he?
He does. And that...
Finally.
Yeah, finally. I did like the scene where he tried to go and speak to the dean. I thought that was... I did like that. I liked the head shaving scene. I didn't like what was happening, but I thought it was it showed you that pain they were going through because they cut all the dialogue and just played the music over the top. But that's the different. Like, I was in on this. I was feeling it, and I liked when they drive to that Hell Night towards the barn, and they're all just sitting in the car, and the camera just stays in the car as they all get out of the car, and it's like creating that confusion of how confused they are, and they don't know what's going to happen as well. And then finally, that scene at the end where the camera just sits on Z's face as he's crying in that hospital waiting room.
And you can hear the doctors talking, but only mildly. Did you have subtitles on?
I did, yeah.
I didn't have it on for this. I would have liked it for that.
It just stayed with me because I was like... And then I was finally happy that he called his dad. Yeah. So, yeah, I've obviously liked this a lot more than you guys.
It's true, though, because I can understand where you're coming from with all that stuff. But
Yeah, completely.
one of my biggest issues with this film is that I thought the movie took too long for me to figure out kind of what it was about. Like, yeah, I'm like, initially you're thinking, okay, this is just going to be like a Hard Knocks kind of thing about these guys trying to get into a fraternity. And it wasn't probably until halfway through that I realised that this is like a full-on critique of it. And I think if I had have been more aware of what it wanted to be from the start, maybe I would have been expecting to see things that you saw. But I kept seeing scenes where I was just like, well, this is stupid. Like, why would they do this? Oh, this is stupid. Oh, why are they making that stupid face when they, like... There's too many things like that where it lost me straight away. So I can completely understand what you're saying. Whereas with Mercy, like, I didn't see those things because it wasn't because of my mindset. So this is a really intense, confronting film. So to your point as well, Heater, you're like, the scene was great. They did a good job, but I didn't like watching it.
Yeah.
That goes to the enjoyment level. And I think that comes down to why Rotten Tomatoes will be 88% for critics, 62% for audiences, because they watch films differently.
Yeah, because the critics can see this is really well shot, real done scene. The audience is like, this isn't good to watch. Like, this is hard.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Really intense scene.
Yeah, I don't agree that it was like
intense
good
movie
to watch. Like, but the sitting there watching those scenes, got me feeling for Z.
There's an element, right, where...
And that's good then. The director's done a great job in that for you.
Basically, a good film, if you break it down, is you and the director being on the same page. Them telling you something that you can, A, relate to, but B, maybe you didn't think about it that way, or you're really taking it in and you're connecting with the director on a pretty deep level. And... in your life, Jesse, you probably got more of a reason to relate to these types of things, which is why it's bang on.
So, what else?
Bad scenes.
What didn't you guys like?
Oh, I mean, I didn't like the torture scenes, which, I mean, look, I really like violent movies and violent TV shows. I watch a lot of them, but this was just something different where it was just...
That's Hollywood violence.
Exactly, yeah. This is torturing these people where I'm sitting there watching it, not comfortable with what they're doing to them.
It's real.
And also not comfortable with the fact that these people don't fight back and just accept it as well. So, I mean, which I guess is, it's how the movie's done. It's what they have to do to pledge to be in this frat. I guess it doesn't resonate with me because I just wouldn't take that. Like, I can't see how people would take that.
So, like, say, like, Beast of No Nation.
The dog food. Like,
the dog food. These are things that happen in these places.
But why do it?
think about Beast of No Nation. So we all agree, we had a pretty general consensus on that film.
Yeah.
The violence in that was pretty traumatic as well.
It was, yeah.
So, like, what's the difference between that violence, like, making sure, like, you connect with that compared to this?
I think it's
war. Like, it's war violence compared to this hazing and torture violence. Like,
see, I wasn't as bothered by the graphic nature, and it wasn't as graphic. It was just like, why are you doing this? For me, the issue was not understanding the character's motivations for doing it. Beast of No Nation was a lot more, I would say it was more graphic and more confronting. But the situation is completely different, where they're not there by choice, effectively. That's why it was more, not harder to watch, but harder to just come to terms with and be like, this is all well and good, I know this happens, but you need to give me a character that I believe he wants to be there for a reason, or show me more motivation to get me over the line. And none of those 5 pledges I got that from.
Yeah, I mean, I sat there for the film just thinking, walk away, just leave. Why are you going through this? It's not worth it. What are you doing?
And probably part of the film, they didn't really show anyone on campus that weren't a part of any of the fraternities, so you don't know what life there was like.
You didn't see any other options of what else they could be doing at college. Yeah,
maybe they did that on purpose to prove to you why they want to do this.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it could have been a lot more compelling with those setups. Absolutely more compelling. I could honestly see myself watching this the way you watch this if he had have brought me into that world straight away, and he didn't do it. So scenes that I wasn't a fan of, and this is not going to be talking about why were they there, because I've said that 1,000 times. I'm avoiding those scenes. I didn't like the scene at the party where he was dancing with that girl Angel, and she pulls him away from the crowd, and they kind of dance by the staircase. And there's no important dialogue in there. There's no... The whole thing's quite awkward because they're dancing kind of isolated around while people are talking, and that character never really comes back. And I just scratching my head as to why...
It was a really weird scene, and why was it there?
So the introduction... I think the introduction of Angel, because I was in the classroom, so he knew who she was at the party. But I read that as dialogue or, plot progression for Z to say how committed he was to his girlfriend.
That's the only thing I could think of. Because he's dancing with a girl, and I'm like, oh, you've got a girlfriend. And he says that. Yeah. I'm like, okay, good on you. They still kind of dance weird. Like, they get close up in each other for no reason because they haven't built any rapport. But that scene to me was just like, you shoot it and then you go, maybe this scene didn't work. I don't know. It didn't do anything for me.
Probably leads to meaning that scene where they've all got that one girl, and leads to that having more impact of him saying again no, so he said it twice.
Potentially, but I think that scene is pretty powerful on its own anyway.
Yeah, true.
Not that you should be tempted just because you're in a room with a girl, but anyway. And similar to that party scene is when one of the main frat guys didn't let his girl in, whether it was his girlfriend or whatever, his girl.
Yeah, at the front outside.
And then just let the next girl in straight away. I don't know what. I think that was just trying to say that, because they glamorize the brotherhood of the fraternities, but maybe they were just trying to say these guys are actually just bad guys. I don't know.
He didn't want his girlfriend to see what he was going to do in that party.
Yeah. I don't think it was his girlfriend anyway.
Whoever she was.
But either way, I didn't like that thing. I didn't like the phoned in breakup scene that we spoke about.
Yep.
And then there was a lot of scenes of the pledging stuff where I was like, why are you doing this? And the face, why did they make that face? Was that like a, how they grimace?
It was just part of pledging.
Just trying to show pain.
I don't know, because I think at one point he was just like, give me your face or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a bit weird.
It was weird. But again, we're, disconnected from that world.
Exactly. I didn't like any of the scenes with the chants. I just thought they multiple times where they start breaking into chant around, and I'm just like, we get that you're trying to pledge. We probably don't need that.
Like maybe once.
Yeah, not a couple of times. Where chant. Rah, 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 rah.
Yeah, you probably only needed it once just to see it, and then you didn't need the repeat sessions. I'm not sure. I think there was a couple of inconsistencies in filming between day and night.
Ooh.
There was a couple of times, especially so. The last scene, we're in the barn, it's nighttime.
Oh, actually, yeah.
They arrive at the hospital and it's light. I'm like, and I feel like it's kind of like morning kind of light, but that would imply that the hospital, for like a 4-hour drive to the hospital, which doesn't really fit. I think there was an early scene as well, where it was nighttime.
I'm just trying to think.
I can't remember where it was, but it was nighttime, and suddenly the next scene, the same thing's going on, and it was light again. I think there was just a couple of inconsistencies
where you mentioned that
we're going from day to night.
Didn't really bother me because I was like, because they made them wait in that car, so it made it seem like it was a long night and they were making them wait a long time. So
I thought that with Hell Night, but then I thought maybe it really was a long drive.
Yeah.
But there was that other time.
There was another time in the middle of the movie.
It was, and it was really sloppy.
Yeah.
I can't remember what that was.
I remember because I was sitting there and going,
when they were out in
on,
the forest
it's
and they
day.
came back from the forest. Because that was pitch black, and then they came back and it was...
Possibly. I'm not sure, but there was definitely one that stood out because I was like, hang on a second there.
Yeah.
It's daytime. It was just night. Something's gone wrong there.
I recall
Which,
that.
I mean, they filmed in, 18 days, so maybe they're on a tight schedule. They couldn't avoid it, maybe.
Let's just cheat it. Yeah.
But there was a couple of times where I was just like, oh, okay, that's a bit inconsistent.
It weirdly didn't bother me enough to write it down, though, so...
Themes? There's a few things. MJ, what do you reckon?
Well, we kind of spoke about a few of them just organically, but I do think there was an interesting role of women kind of theme within this film, which is obviously a very heavily dominated male cast, but obviously a very male activity as well. But I like the fact that there were some really strong female characters in this. In fact, all of them basically were very strong. I think the director would have liked that they came off a little bit stronger than they were, but Toya, I love that scene about where Toya was talking about how she's like, well, you know what? I'm a grown woman. I can have sex with whoever I want to have. Because, you know, from the outside looking in, this is like, this girl's just getting used by a fraternity. What's going on? I thought that was a really nice way to paint that character. And because probably that kind of person or you know, in that sort of lifestyle happens quite a bit. And it's a nice way to look at it as opposed to just saying, oh, this girl's a slut. Like, she's making her own decisions and she's doing it well. And obviously, Professor Hugh's probably the strongest character, who is the one that's trying. I mean, maybe she could have done more, but I do like the fact that they specifically made that a female character who's trying to break that down. And even Zurich's girlfriend was pretty good. I think that she was, you know, strong enough to, I guess, break up with him, and strong enough to make sure he didn't screw her around. You know, don't forget my birthday, and he didn't. But, you know, she was understanding enough as well to see this is what he's trying to do and do it. So I do like that little... I mean, it was only, I guess, a tidbit of the film, but the female characters in there were specifically strong, and I like that.
I'm not sure if I'm thinking too much into this, but I think there was kind of a bit of a theme of Zurich trying to maybe show up his father or stick it to his father. Kind of at the start, you find out that his father pledged and then didn't make it. And I guess just the whole film of him not calling his father back might have been a kind of like, no, I'm doing this without you. I'm doing what you couldn't kind of do. I'm not talking to you. I'm doing it on my own.
Yeah. I thought there was quite a bit about like the loss of innocence. Like these guys coming in, pretty much they wouldn't have experienced anything like this before based on what they've been talking about, and that was drummed out of them pretty early. They were beat up real hard,
and it goes to show where they end, that they have lost that innocence, moved on from it, become men, but not the men that they thought they were going to be.
Yeah, and that leads into like masculinity as well. It's like the whole film was about what does it mean to be a man, and I think Z said at one stage it's like to endure pain inflicted by other men. So he had this motto where he already knew, he's like, okay, for me to be a man, I need to face these physical challenges that I'm faced to become a man. So it was like him trying to be a man. And then we spoke before about brotherhood a little bit, like trying to...
But what do you think the film, in the end, was telling you what it meant to be a man?
To sit there and cry.
Yeah, to sit there
and show your emotions and do the right thing.
Go against people that you think are wrong to do the right thing.
To stand up and do the right thing.
Yeah. Exactly. So that leads to like his identity and who he is and trying to be a part of something bigger and fitting in. And that leads to, to stop hazing. Like this film is saying, why are we still
100%.
hazing? Yeah.
100%.
Let's call for reform. We don't need to do this anymore. And I liked Professor Hughes. She said, "It's easier to build strong children than repair broken men." And I was like, that is perfect for these guys, because if they don't do the hazing at the start, you can build these guys rather than trying to get them after they're broken and they're a part of this
teaching motto as well.
It is. It's great, and also like learn from life. Like he sat around at the end to injustice, wrongs. He was there to face the repercussions of the actions of what they'd done. He didn't run. He was ready to face that, and I thought that was good.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah.
This is chock full of themes, some clearer than others.
Yeah. So what do we take from the film?
I feel like the only white people in the whole film were the cops.
Whew. I can't think of anyone else now that you mentioned that.
Yep.
This is going to be a question of mine, but I guess it's relevant. But the whole film is obviously a massive criticism on these illegal hazing techniques of fraternities, but this example is specifically all black.
Yep.
Do you think there's a reason, or do you think that was just one way to tell the story?
I think it's because some of the stuff that the director drew on was a few deaths that happened at black fraternities. Yeah. So I think there's been 3 in the past few years where through hazing that they died, and they all died at black universities and black fraternities kind of things. So I think that's probably the reason why, because the deaths were at black
more relevant, more relatable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The only sort of thing that I could take out that was probably not as well done as I would have liked was, like you said before, there's too many characters that you don't care about and too many ideas that they were trying to throw around at the same time. So for example, like there was these little underlying things about Square being better off than Z, like, where's your maid sort of thing. So, trying to talk about that a little bit, and then like the slavery stuff in the classroom, the frats, they had like that, there was this room where they had all their charity set up, and like the girls, they were doing like the breast cancer charity, and, there was talk about your religion and not drinking or having sex because of your religion, and the relationship issues, and trying to make him a leader, and the cops being unjust as well. It was like all these little things that weren't fleshed out, but like they were just there, and that sort of...
There's a lot of stuff going on, wasn't there?
Like, I feel like the film would have been a lot better if it just focused on pledging being bad.
Yeah, and then, that's very true. I didn't realise that. Now you mention it, there were lots of little...
Yeah, so like if you just focus this whole film just on pledging, and you could create a whole story just on that suspicion and fear of being caught. Like, because they were worried about being caught the whole time. It was all underground, like, don't hit him too hard because we don't want evidence and that sort of stuff. You could have made, like, you could have just stuck on the pledging thing the whole way. And that's, like, I feel like that's what this film was about. Anyway.
It was.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
If someone asks you in a year's time what Burning Sands is about,
you'd say pledging.
Yeah, that's what you say. So they probably could have done a much better job on setting that up better and then focusing on it.
Yeah. That was my sort of little takeaway, I guess.
The other takeaway is that it is just terribly depressing. Like
it's a downer of a film.
It was very intense and a downer.
Yeah.
Did you look up the meaning of Burning Sands?
I kind of...
I did because I didn't know it, but I assumed what it was. It's kind of, the cross between being a pledgee to a full member.
Yeah. And they use that symbol of that bench.
When you cross the Burning Sands tomorrow.
And because it goes back to, like, the ancient Greek times. Walking across, Did anyone IMDb?
Yep.
What did you do?
Alfre Woodard, excuse me if I've pronounced that incorrectly, who plays Professor Hughes, is Ruby from True Blood, Lafayette's mum. So I didn't know it, like she was super familiar, and I looked at it and I was like, no, that's who it is.
Mine was the Dean, Steve Harris, who turned out to have been in a lot of things. I knew him from Friday Night Lights TV show.
Was he in the Lethal Weapon TV show as well?
I've only seen the first season. I didn't recognise him in it, but he's in the later seasons of Friday Night Lights.
So another ones I've seen.
He's in seasons 4 and 5. Yeah, no. What are you up to?
I think Lethal Weapon's been cancelled now too.
Yeah, he got cancelled after the third season. I think.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, disappointing.
I didn't have one. I said before, I just watched the film.
You was in on the film and
Got any questions? Anything you want to ask?
I already asked mine.
Yeah, I think we've kind of asked a lot. Why did they come?
Why do people still haze that? Why does it still happen? Like I can't think of a reason as to why.
The macho masculinity, these guys trying to show that they're macho
But like, they didn't show the female side either. Like, do the girls haze as well?
Yeah, then you show the sorority side.
It's like hazing, from what I can understand, is a way of earning your place, right? So rather than just going, I want to join this fraternity, okay, you're in. Understand what it makes to be part of that fraternity and earn your keep. There's some ways that they do it in a really fun way, and I'm saying ways, some shows and movies where it can be quite fun. Like I used to watch the TV show Greek, and that was the whole thing was based on college fraternities, and there's a lot of fun that they can have with that. So I kind of get the essence of it, but it's taken more, a bit of a turn.
It's more the underground legal hazing that they do and.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of, you're coming into something pretty special.
Yeah.
You like earn your way.
Anyway,
The Beta House hazing was great.
That's right. Beta House.
That was great.
The other thing I want to...
Right. Just remembered it.
The other thing was the adults in this film. Apart from Professor Hughes, I thought the adults in the film were all very single-track minded. The adults in the film weren't good adults.
Yeah. Well, most of the adults are the big brothers.
Yeah, too many adults.
They're part of the whole problem, I guess.
The cops as well.
Yeah, and you got a doctor who, who's saying, "No, stick it out, you'll be fine."
Yeah, that's right. The cops were like, "Oh, yeah, I was in a fraternity one day. Off you go. Don't let me see you again." Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought the adults in the film were pretty ordinary.
Well, obviously, trying to paint it as a wider society issue that everyone's kind of in on this. Let's do something about it.
Yeah, but why not have more than just Professor Hughes against it? I don't know. I was just I thought.
I guess he's trying to really paint that if you want to be in a fraternity, you're completely on your own.
Yeah.
Like even going to the dean you made him look like an idiot.
Yeah. So we ready to wrap this up?
I think we are.
Yeah. So we go around the table and we rate our films out of 5. Out of 5, and then we come up with a average between the three of us. So MJ, do you want to hit us off with?
I would love to go first. So whilst the film eventually does a decent job at condemning these behaviours, I still think it sloppily glamorises the brotherhood qualities and benefits of being in the fraternity. If it was a deliberate ploy, it actually seems careless on the message he's trying to convey. The film could have done a better job with the setup of the story and the messaging, what the messaging was going to be about. And all in all, it was a tough watch. 1.5 stars for me.
Cool. Heater?
This was a really hard film for me to rate because I can absolutely appreciate that I thought it was pretty well made and there was really good themes and messages throughout. And as we were talking about before, like a lot of the scenes, they were so intense, but they were really good. But it's just the enjoyment factor for me just wasn't there. So I can appreciate, I guess, the making of the movie and the messages for it, but it's just not something that I enjoyed watching. But I give it a 2.5.
All right. So for me, like I said before, it was completely relatable, even though I'm a white male who's never gone to a college. I just related in the character of Z because it highlighted like what people want to do to fit in and impress, even though there's pain that goes with that. And I didn't necessarily need to be through a college system, but just seeing someone try to impress, try to do the right thing, and constantly be beat down about it. So, and I think Z kept the film alive for me. So I've given it a 4 out of 5. Yeah. So very different.
hell.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big,
big
score.
What are we giving it out of 5 as an average?
So that averaged out of 5 to a 2.67 out of 5.
I wanted to give this more than 1.5, and I couldn't even justify giving it the 2. I was just like, I get. You know what? I got it all. Watching it, I'm like, I know what you're trying to tell me. I like what you're trying to tell me, but sitting there watching a movie, you didn't quite tell me. And I knew this would be a good discussion too, regardless of whether we all didn't like it. There's enough to talk about with it.
I think it was pretty explicit in what it was trying to say. There was no denying what it was trying to say. Yeah. So I think no matter who you are and how you watch it, it just depends whether
you can watch it, you can talk about it. Absolutely, it's just more if you enjoy it and like it.
4 stars is huge.
Yeah, I rated this high.
Wow,
that's a big one.
So,
did you like it more than Mercy?
Yep. Yeah.
See, now you've thrown out all your star ratings because you gave Mercy a 4.
No, I haven't.
You didn't know what to do now. You're like, this was a 3.5. I gave Mercy 4 though.
No, not at all. I still stand by my rating for Mercy. I'm not going to drop that.
Bloody Mercy.
So on social media, we chuck up our links to our episode as well as a question of the week. So this question I've taken from the film, and it was through the classroom. They had that the work they were studying in the classroom. One of the quotes from that was, if there's no struggle, there's no progress. So I just wanted to know, does that ring true in life? Like, without struggle, you can't progress.
Ooh, that's a nice question.
Yeah, good question.
Because, Z definitely struggled to try and progress. I feel like by the end he had.
Yeah, short answer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
a sad life if that's the case.
Yeah, I know. And maybe not in that extreme sort of way.
No, but struggle doesn't have to be bad.
It doesn't.
Struggle can be,
struggle needs to be working hard.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. So many ways to interpret that.
Yeah. Working hard sucks.
So it's going to be on our Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. We are at Flix Forum. Please subscribe to us if you can. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. Just Google search us, you'll find us quite easily.
You're already listening to us,
yeah,
so you
exactly.
found us.
So you found us. You know us. Next week, we're looking at the 2017 comedy drama crime film. So it's got a couple of little genres there. Comedy drama crime. It's called Deidra and Laney Rob a Train.
Gosh, I haven't even seen that title.
Me either. It is, well, I have because I but I had before that I hadn't. So
you've already watched
it. Directed by Sydney Freeland. It stars Ashley Murray, Rachel Crowe, Tim Blake, Nelson, David Sullivan, Danielle Nicolette, and Sasha Zamzada. And I culled another 3 names off the list there.
Was Nelson someone by themselves, or was that a third name?
It was Tim Blake, Nelson.
Okay.
How good would that be? It stars Tim Blake and Nelson.
The only reason I paused is because I wrote time. So I hope his name is Tim. We will fix that up for next episode. But hopefully you can have a watch before next episode so I don't totally ruin it for you.
Absolutely. Have a listen, have a watch.
Try and watch.
Well, we will definitely watch.
Well, we better.
Yeah, we better.
It's going to be a hard conversation.
Can't wait for it.
Thanks for listening as usual.
Thanks for the chat as well.
Mate.
Yeah, it was good.
Thank you very much.
Good fun.
See you next week.
Bye.